Let us say, hypothetically, a young man wants to become an imam. Now he's got a couple things to juggle. What's the value of his Western degree? What kind of Western degree should he get? Where should he study? Should he study where he's going to benefit the most, or what's recognized among in society the most? Azhar, for example, is recognized. Deoband is something recognized. I know England's about to blow up right now because I said the word Deoband, but truth is the truth. It's a recognizable entity. You know what it is.
No one has madaris the way they have madaris.
No
No
one
one
has
produces people of knowledge the way they produce people of knowledge.
And most importantly, people know it, right?
Yeah.
You say someone, I went to study at Deoband. Okay, I know what you did now, right? I
Yeah.
at least know, and people know he's going to know this much fiqh, this much hifz, etc. So now, next question, or next issue is there like a track? Take us through this for somebody who would like to be an imam or a sheikh, or you know what people want to do. They want to do this stuff, what we're doing right now. There's very few of these that exist. We can count on our fingers the institutions. What is your advice, taking these points one at a time to a young person?
You said something recently I think it was recently, about the idea that when you go down the route of knowledge, you're kind of taking a vow of poverty at some level.
Yep.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to be in that situation, but you have to kind of be willing to be in that situation. And I think that this kind of touches on some other areas as well, is that I see knowledge as the people of knowledge, the students of, basically, if you're going to be a student of knowledge, I said this about our program. People say 5-year program, 7-year program. I said, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you're going to go on a route of knowledge, you're going on the rest of your life program.
Yep.
As you're committing to taking on this craft, so to speak. The ulama are warathat al-anbiya, they're the inheritors of the scholars. That means something. It's not about a job, it's not about a position, it's not about income or not income or anything like that. And we ask Allah protection, but we have to be committed to the craft. And so that's, I think, the first point to understand. Like, I'm not here to some sort of left with Quran, some sort of smoke and mirrors. There's an amana to this. There's a responsibility to this, and that's a responsibility that we're going to have to live with every day of our lives. So that's number one, kind of like foundational principle. That being said, I think that if people are really serious about it, then, in the end of the day, the thing is about knowledge and acting upon that knowledge. And one of the things that would be very useful for a student is that you don't rush to be in positions of authority or anything like that, but it is good to get practice. It is good to be involved in the community, to volunteer in volunteer positions, not necessarily paid positions, volunteer positions. I'm a volunteer to help with the youth group, to teach kids how to read Quran, to organize events, to clean up at the masjid, things that give a person some sort of experience in the community space, because that's its own type of knowledge.
Yep.
Without
you can never
it,
learn
it's very hard to do some. Actually, the more knowledge, intellectual knowledge you get, the harder it is to get that knowledge.
100%.
So if you put it off until you finish, it's very difficult. Now you came back, you're Shaykh. No one's going to let you do these things. And you're going to have to, you probably have more financial responsibilities because you're older now. All kinds of things change. Yeah.
This point is extremely important. So when a person is known and seen in his youth, helping out with the local youth i'tikaf, helping out at the fundraiser, serving the food, in Ramadan, serving the food. When that person goes and learns and comes back, I think the whole community will welcome him with open arms and say, yeah, you've paid your dues. You've shown your humility. You've done your khidmah. This is a person...
And in a very natural way.
It seems very natural.
Very natural, yeah.
On top of that, as you mentioned, there's knowledge that we can't really put our fingertips on what that feels like, what that life feels like. What kind of appreciation do these people want and hunger for at some point? When you go and learn, you'll never have this knowledge again. Unless you do what Imam al-Ghazali said, take the turban off. But
theoretically, it can happen, but it's much harder.
Very hard. Once you have the adult positions now, it's very hard to know how they feel. Just as someone serving the food or taking out the trash or being somebody at the periphery of the events. All right, let's talk about this next. The position of the place of a BA in someone who wants to aspire as a scholar. Does he use his 20s to take 4 years out of the prime of his life studying, let's say, IT or coding? Or does he take that prime of his life and study abroad?
That's a hard question. I think that al-khayru fima ikhtarahu Allah, that different people will have. The good is in what Allah chooses. Different people have different routes. Most of the people who I was with were people who finished their degrees here and then they went overseas. And I think that in some ways that benefited a lot of us because it gave us some independence. It gave us some like, yeah, I've been through college. I know what it's like. I lived in those circumstances. We dealt with the politics of universities. We dealt with the politics of community. I have something that I can fall back on at some level. You can't manipulate me into this position and treat me like I don't have any way out. No, I went to the universities that you want to send your kids to, you know? So I think that there was some good in that. At the same time, I think that we do want like a real serious level of scholarship in this country. And it takes a lot of years. I look at someone like Shaykh Yusuf Wahab, for example, may Allah preserve him. Now he's at Yaqeen running the Quranic Studies department, right? Shaykh Yusuf is someone to me who's like a real Azhari. You know, he grew up in the system. So this is now someone who grew up in Egypt in the Azhar system. So by the time he finishes his undergrad, he's legitimately like Hafiz of the 10 Qira'at, Faqih in the Shafi'i school, you know, all of these things when he graduates. And then he came to Canada. He did one master's degree in comparative law, right, studying divorce in Islamic settings. And then now he did his, I think he finished or he's finishing his I think he finished his second master's in Chicago, and now he's doing his PhD. So you see, like, that's one route that's going to lead to a level of scholarship that we need. And at the same time, you're going to need people who are kind of in between. You know, they're not going to be able to maybe do what someone like him can do, but they might be able to meet people where they're at and bring them to someone like him. So I think we need all of it. Ideally, like what I want for my own children is for them to take the route of scholarship from an early age, and if they want to do some secular studies, to do it later.
So the summary conclusion to this is that there is no one answer to this question. Whether I do my BA now and then go study, or go study and then come back and then do the BA at night while I'm an imam somewhere. The benefits of the former is that you know the college life, you know what your what your listeners, your people, you know what they're suffering.
Your people, you know them a little bit.
Because if you don't suffer or don't experience what it's like to be a young person facing so many shahawat in college, on campus, and then you may not have sympathy for their shortcomings. There's also something to fall back on. That's number two. There's also
you might get work experience in that field. One of the imams that we studied with, he used to say, if you're going to be the imam of a big masjid in America, you should work in corporate America.
Good idea.
Because then you know what it's like to work in those kind of settings, not just in non-profit settings and stuff. So sorry to cut you off.
No problem, but that makes a lot of sense. Also, how about in your study of fiqh? If you worked in finance, the Shaykh Yasser worked in finance. So when he studies that chapter in fiqh, he knows what they're talking about.
It's going to be completely different, yeah.
Whereas
also, your intellectual capacity is more refined sometimes because
100%.
you spend time in it.
You're going to work
older.
You'll learn. You can learn fiqh a lot faster when your mind matures and you know the world. You'll know exactly why the fuqaha spoke about certain subjects the way they did. So we can add to that being a little bit more mature is better when you study fiqh.
Also, just to add to that, also if you do go overseas, you're a little bit older, which is like if I had gone overseas when I was 18, it would have been crazy. Yeah. It was crazy enough when I was 22, but at 18 it would have been completely
I'll tell you what a lot of youth, the mistake that they make is that sometimes they truly misunderstand certain ideas, movements, or groups, and for emotional reasons may reject them fully because of an emotional reason. That is not an actual absolute part of their minhaj, right? And they may totally misunderstand things that they come across, and then they have an emotional reaction, and that emotional reaction taints their study. And that's not good. So again, a little bit of maturity, we'll add that to the list of the benefits of delaying your travel is emotional maturity too.
Yeah, because you have to study in order to learn, not in order to reinforce what you think you already know.
Correct. Yeah.
And this is a big mistake you see with a lot of students. Like they have an idea made up, they're going to go and reinforce it.
Correct.
No, you have to go and be objective in your study.
Yeah, if you've already formed an emotional attachment to an idea or a group or a sheikh, then you study, you're not fully studying the full gamut. You've done an injustice to yourself. Yeah. Now let's go to the other side. You said there also is a benefit to studying fully, high school upwards even, right? Hafiz by the end of high school. Forget end of BA. By the end of high school,
Yeah,
it should be a Hafiz.
yeah.